Thank you for joining us today for another one of Sephra's quick tips. Today we're going to be looking at what's in the box. I have chosen two fountains that we can look at. The first is the 18-inch Classic home fountain, and the other is the 19-inch Elite home fountain. Both home fountains are very similar in that they utilize the same tier set. Let's go ahead and have a look at what's found within the box and how to set it up. Give me just a moment while I remove these boxes. Now that I've set everything up, let's go ahead and have a look at some of the things that we've found within the box. The first thing, if you're a lady, you would have found the user's guide. Good for you. Everything that I'm covering in this video is in here. If you're a guy, I'm sure you didn't see a thing. And frankly, who needs a user's guide? You know how to run a chocolate fountain. You were born with it. One of the other things that you'd find is a product registration card. Fill it out, send it in to us. In terms of parts, the first part that we find is the bottom half of the center cylinder. What would go on top of that is the top half of the center cylinder. You'll also find a larger bottom tier as well as a smaller top tier. There's a crown that goes on the top, and there is an auger. This is what drives the chocolate to the top of the fountain so that it can cascade down over each tier. Likewise, you'll find 6 forked metal skewers, and you'll find a gray viscosity funnel. Now, the unique part about this gray viscosity funnel is you can run a lot of fondues in these fountains, all of our fountains in fact. You can run chamoy, you can run ranch dressing, barbecue sauce, you can run caramel, a lot of opportunities. And this is what gives you the right formula, the right mixture to run those different type of fondues through your fountain. All of Sephra's chocolates run without any mixing of oil or anything like that. You simply melt it in the microwave, pour it in your fountain, or melt it in your fountain for that matter, turn the fountain on and it runs. But if you happen to be running a cheese sauce or some other type of fondue, on the handle of this viscosity funnel, it says 10 seconds. When you think you've got the right viscosity, scoop up your fondue, and if it flows through here in 2 seconds, you've probably got water. If it takes 20 seconds, maybe it's molasses. It's something that's way entirely too thick and it will not run through your fountain. But if you've got something that takes, say, 8, 9, 10 seconds, that's going to be the right viscosity to flow through your fountain. So let's go ahead and set this aside. Now, when I initially set up my fountain, the first and only part that I put in prior to adding my chocolate is the bottom half of my center cylinder. The reason that I do this is because if I was to add chocolate in the basin of this fountain or in the bowl, without having this part in, there's 4 pins in here that this slides onto, and I would not be able to find those because they're covered with chocolate. Now, the reason that I don't add the top half of the center cylinder in the tiers is because if I was to add those, I still need to pour my chocolate in, and I've just decreased the amount of space that I have to pour in my chocolate, and I don't want to make life harder for myself. I prefer just a wide area to be able to pour my chocolate into. So the first thing I do is I add the bottom half of my center cylinder. I then pour my chocolate in, and after I have at least the minimum, probably more towards the maximum amount of chocolate that these fountains will hold, I then go ahead and add the top half of my center cylinder. Now, an important part here is that if you'll notice, there is a notch in this top half of the center cylinder which lines up with a notch here on the bottom half. When you slide these together, they just go ahead and click and lock into place. It's important to recognize this because if you go ahead if you're going to clean your fountain after your event and you take these and you twist them, it's likely that you'll crack them. After I've added the top half of the center cylinder, my chocolate's already in there, bear in mind, I go ahead and I add the bottom tier and then the top tier. I follow that up by adding the auger. Now, the unique part about the auger is when you put it in the fountain, it's going to come to rest, and what you want to do is grab it with your fingers and rotate it at least 180 degrees. It may be less than that, but what you'll notice is that it will drop into place. And on the bottom of this auger, there is a T, there's a groove, and this groove fits over the spindle, which is the T-shaped piece in the bottom of the fountain. So when I put this in here, if I go ahead and twist it, it will drop into place. Now frankly, if I don't twist it, when I turn the fountain on, the spindle itself is going to turn, and I've never heard of a case where it doesn't, but the auger is going to drop into place on its own, but it's always good to just set it up right the first time. From here, I go ahead and I put the crown on. Now the crown has two tabbed pieces right here that go into these grooved sections, so I just line those up and push it down. Now my fountain's already set up. It's ready to run. That's it. Thank you for watching another episode of What's in the Box, and we look forward to hearing from you if you have any questions whatsoever. Thank you.